may think me a masochist, but I think we need more 6 or 7 out of 10 anime, particularly sports anime. One example being the subject of this video, Burning Kabaddi. Now, you may be confused as to why I just did that. Let's explain the rules of Kabaddi. I am not actually going to do that because that is very difficult.
What's the biggest sport that you might not have heard of? Well, one contender is Kabaddi. The game takes place on a 13 by 10 metre map with 2 teams of 7 standing either side of the midline. To earn points, teams first send out a raider who must cross the midline and place their foot across the baulk line. The raider then has to tag an opposing defender, who are sometimes known as antis, and run back across the midline without being tackled. This must all be done within 30 seconds, and the raider must do all of this while continuously chanting Kabaddi to show that he's doing it all within one breath. The sport actually dates back over 4,000 years, and it's India's second most popular sport behind cricket, but outside of South Asia it's largely unknown. However, that's starting to change. The first Kabaddi World Cup hosted outside of Asia was held in England in 2025 and attracted an estimated broadcast audience of 500 million people. And with leagues in China, the USA and East Africa, the sport looks set to go worldwide.
However, one of the rules of Kabaddi is you, as the person attacking the other side, need to take one breath and keep saying Kabaddi whilst you are trying to score points. In doing so, you then have to get back to your side of the field whilst in that one breath saying Kabaddi, or else your go is over. That is the most simple way of me being able to explain why I just did that whole gag earlier, and I'm sure that was very funny for you. But let's actually talk about the show. Burning Kabaddi is a so far 1-season anime, and I'll be honest, I am not confident in them bringing back a second season because it's been many years since the first season. But the manga is still ongoing at the very least. Editing me here just chiming in to say that Burning Kabaddi actually won at the 70th Shogakukan Manga Awards this year. So with that hype, there actually might be talks of the anime being restarted. However, haven't really heard anything else about it. I believe, I will correct myself if I'm wrong, but Burning Kabaddi is a show all about playing kabaddi. It is a show all about the sport that is very famous, particularly in South Asia, primarily India and Pakistan, but it's also played in places like Iran, who are very good at kabaddi. So, Burning Kabaddi follows Tatsuya Yoigoshi, a once nationally recognized soccer player, is now a first-year student at Naoki High School. Due to his developed hatred for sports, he has abandoned his previous aspirations to becoming a famous live streamer on the internet. That doesn't make sense, but let's just say it does. One day, Soma Azamichi, a first year on the Kabaddi team, seeks to recruit Yoigoshi and spontaneously interrupts his live stream. Without any expectations, Yoigoshi follows Soma to the school gym where he witnesses second year Koshihei Musumi and Shinji Date engaging in the primal contact sport of Kabaddi. Despite ridiculing the rules of play, Yoigoshi is stunned by the intensity of the round. Because of an enticing deal and slight coercion, he agrees to settle the prospect of his recruitment through the most invigorating way, a battle of kabaddi, a team sport played empty-handed. I just read the Mal summary of that to you because I am very professional, and that kind of sells the show short. And it's very difficult for me to actually explain to you that. But Burning Kabaddi does a really great job of actually outlining the sport of kabaddi, which is one that is unfortunately not very popular. Even here in the UK, we have a national team. They aren't very good. And that's because there's no funding for kabaddi because it's not super popular. It's a vicious circle. You don't get the funding for something because it's not popular, and it doesn't get popular because you don't have the funding. It is capitalism wrought. Now, let's not get into the politics of it yet. Let's just stick to the anime. But Burning Kabaddi really does a great job of visualizing a match of kabaddi. Kabaddi is high intensity. It can be a game that completely changes on a handle. It is a team sport, but also an individual sport. You have the attacker who is all on their own, facing off against the entirety of the other team. It's crazy. It's like, oh, how is this one person going to overcome the other team? Or you have the other person who is so supremely better than your entire team. How does your team come together to formulate a plan to defeat this person on the other side? It's crazy. It is hard hitting. It looks like it hurts because in Kabaddi, to stop the person going back, you can basically just grab them and throw them to stop them scoring a point. It is violent and strong, but also tactical. For example, if you're the attacker, you can tap someone on the other team to score a point and get back, and you can basically eliminate them. And your goal is to get to the other side of the court, go over the line, kind of like a try line in rugby or a touchdown line in American football, and then get back to your side, your half of the field, and the other team are going to try and grab you and stop you from getting back. Like I said earlier, you need to be saying kabaddi, 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 kabaddi continuously whilst having one breath. In this show, they exemplify all of this. It is awesome. It is a really great way of showing the sport itself, and also the fact that our main character knows nothing about this sport when he starts. It does give the vibe of Slam Dunk, where the main character doesn't know any of the rules of basketball, and he kind of has to learn the rules of basketball, and he is very clearly a prodigy of basketball very early on into the show. This is the case with Burning Kabaddi. Obviously, the main character already is a sportsman. He's always someone who's good at sports, and so he has that advantage, which is actually something that is like a real thing in real life. A lot of sports players are good at more than one sport, and maybe the sport that they actually excel in the most is one they haven't played all their life, but the skills are transferable between sports, and hey, it might even give them an edge. That is what happens in Burning Kabaddi. Our main character has an edge because of his footballing prowess and athleticism, something that in Kabaddi there is a weight limit, but everyone is basically on the line for the weight limit for the most part. And in doing so, they're kind of bulky. Our main character is a little bit more sprightly because he's a football player. He uses that to his advantage. Gets in, gets out, plays kabaddi super duper well. Now, why is this show a 6-7 show? Well, because although it explains kabaddi really well, it goes into detail of kabaddi in itself. You don't really see the kabaddi being played. Like, they visualize the rules really well. They visualize it in a way that you understand kabaddi, but you don't actually see them playing the sport. And why is that? It is likely budgetary constraints, because having a lot of animation characters and moving around, grabbing each other, dancing around, kind of how you would be able to do with a bigger budget, or the very least with live action characters quite cheaply, you can't do that in animation. It is very difficult. And so the way they actually show the show itself, they show the sport itself, is a lot of stop motion, a lot of individual frames moving, and then showing what is called the struggle. The characters, when they are trying to get back to their side and fighting against the people who are trying to pull them away from their side and knock them out. They're stopping the attacker. Now, that is unfortunately kind of a holdback for this, because I think if you have watched something like Slam Dunk or Kuroko, or even something more recent like Blue Lock, okay, maybe not the second and third seasons of Blue Lock. Blue Lock season 1, you actually see the sport in play. You see the players running, doing the sport very well. Again, season 1 of Blue Lock at the very least. I've not seen seasons 2 and 3, but I have seen the slideshows they used in the animation for that. Unfortunately, Burning Kabaddi suffers from the animation as a slideshow thing that Blue Lock season 2 definitely did, and this is likely for budgetary constraints. And although, the actual sport itself is exciting and the way they describe the sport is exciting, you don't get to see that, which is a shame. Furthermore, I guess generally the plot is very samey. It is a team sport, a not very popular team sport. They don't have enough players, and so they're trying to recruit people to join their team, and then in recruiting people to join their team, that person is really good at it. And they are setting it up for the team to become very popular, just like you get in most sports anime shows where the team is an underdog team. And again, much like Slam Dunk, you've got our new character who is someone who is a prodigy, a hidden talent, and then you also have another character who is someone who is supremely fantastic at this sport on the team, and then the two of them will eventually come together and form the best team ever, and the entire team relies on the two of them. So it is a very much a tropey anime. I get why it wasn't picked up for a second season, because one, it's a brand new sport. This sport isn't popular in Japan, so that's why I was so confused when the manga got an adaptation, because there's loads of mangas about sports and games that aren't super popular, but they don't get adaptations. At best, they get one season adaptations, and that is the case with Burning Kabaddi, which is a shame. And I think, you know what, this could have been a great opportunity for a place like India to show off their soft power. I think this show did come out when India started its slide to fascism, which is unfortunate, but Japan is doing that too now, so, the world of politics saddens me greatly. But this could have been a really great opportunity for Japan and India to work together on something, kind of like Suraj the Rising Star was a co-production between India and Japan. That's a throwback to my very first video on this channel, huh? But it could have been a great co-production. Clearly, they decided not to do that. And unfortunately, I don't think you're going to get another season of this. So, if you do watch it, you can go into it saying this is a very low commitment. It is 12 episodes and it's done. I might go off and read the manga. I've been saying I'm going to read the manga for years, but it's a bit difficult to find it in English, or at least it's not difficult to find it. It's just expensive because it didn't have a very lucrative run here in the West either. So getting that English adaptation might be a bit hard for me. However, like I said, it's nice to have mediocre shows, 6-7 shows that aren't bangers, but shows that aren't horrible. Because in a world of slop or has to be perfect or fails, it's nice to have something in the middle. Things in the middle should exist because not everything needs to be perfect and not everything else should be terrible. So go off and watch Burning Kabaddi if you want to learn about a cool, unique sport, but don't actually want to watch the sport. As a special bonus before the end of the video, let's list off a couple of unique sports anime. Number 1, Narane, Cheer For You, which is a cheerleading anime, which actually sounds quite cool, very different out there. We have Futsal Boys, which is all about futsal, which actually, if you don't like football, this is actually a lot more fun and interesting to play as a sport. Number 24, which is all about rugby, which I believe came out either in the same season and or same year as Burning Kabaddi, which kind of two anime that aren't very popular sports in Japan coming out and the same season, no less. And our final example is Remain, which is a water polo anime. So there are anime all about some sports that you don't think are very popular, to be honest, but hey, everyone's got their own thing, haven't they?